Welcome to Career Insights. The Career Insight series features local industry professionals engaged in conversation with students and recent graduates about career planning and job opportunities in Polk County, Florida.
Good morning, everyone. We're so happy to have you with us today. I'm Sharon Kokanowski. I'm the Director of Education here at Polk State College. So if you ever need to reach out to me, please do. One thing we want to share with you is how you can get involved with education from birth to grade 6, because we'll actually be sharing early childhood information as well as our bachelor's early childhood and elementary education programs. So there's so much going on in education right now, and we need strong, positive, one-of-a-kind educators out in the field. So we're excited to be able to share information with you today. So we have several presenters today. From the early childhood side of things, we're going to have Mrs. Hazelwood and Mrs. Rubes working with that. And then from the bachelor early childhood and elementary programs, we'll have Mrs. Hurt and Mrs. Price working on those presentations.
Next, we're going to hear from Kristen Alshear, and she is a current teacher who started in early childhood.
My name is Kristen Alshear, and I am a former student of Polk State College, which at the time it was called Polk Community College. And now I am an adjunct professor for Polk State. So I went through kind of all the avenues. I started right out of high school, and I started taking early childhood education courses there, and absolutely fell in love with the professors as well as the program that offered all the different courses for me. At the time, they did not have a bachelor's program. It was just a community college. It was just a 2-year school. So I went through the program, and I came to my last year, and it was almost time to graduate. And there weren't a lot of students that were in this program at the time. So I was blessed enough to have a wonderful set of professors that got together, and they really helped me, and I was able to finish my degree. So I ended up graduating the first at Polk Community College, now Polk State College, in early childhood education. I got my AS. And then I went on to get a preschool. At the time we were getting the preschool, I was graduating also, so there were a lot of things that I was able to do, and I got a lot of help from the professors. I was able to go in, and we had to do zoning for the school because it was zoned for just residential. I had to learn how to do it for commercial. And then I also had to find out information about how to get the building done. We had to have fire marshals come out. I also one of the tasks that they tasked me with was figuring out a name, and I had to do that for my school and get it incorporated. So I had that with my AS degree in early childhood, and then several years later, I went back and finished my AA degree, and still running the preschool. I also helped start up several VPK programs. And I also went around and helped mentor different directors that were learning to run their own school. Then several years after that, I did decide to go back and finish my bachelor's degree because I wasn't quite sure if I was going to stay in the preschool arena or we were going to sell and go do something else. So then we ended up selling the preschool. I had it for about 20 years. But in the meantime, I did finish my bachelor's degree. So when we did sell the preschool, I went on to work in the Polk County public school system. I did that for about 6 years. And last year, then I left and went into a charter school. And I'm working for a charter school that focuses on developmentally delayed children. And also, right before that, last year, I graduated with my master's in educational leadership. So I'm not quite the typical path that some people would take where they go straight out of high school. There were some things that I wanted to figure out, and also I was working along the way. So just because you decide to go to high school doesn't mean decide to go to college right out of high school doesn't mean that you have to go straight and do it if that's not what you really need to do. I am adjuncting for Polk State College, and I have a lot of students that are full-time workers. So Polk State makes it very nice and a lot in that area because students can work full-time, but then they can also go to college, and they can either go to college in the evening or they can go online. And I feel that Polk State has been very beneficial in my education. And I felt like that was one of the reasons I wanted to come back and be an adjunct professor, because without Polk Community College, Polk State College now, I couldn't have done it. I wouldn't be where I am now. And I absolutely love education. I love teaching children, but I also love teaching adults. I love that there's so many different things that you can do at Polk State, as in the aspect of just different classes that you can take and you can figure it out. I didn't know right away that I was going into early childhood education. I had kind of thought about it, but then I thought I also would try my hand at nursing. Anatomy and physiology was not my thing at all. And I had a lot of advisors that helped me work through it. They didn't push me in any one direction. They just said, maybe this is what you should do. And I thought that it was great, and I loved it. So education, early childhood is phenomenal. I wish that Polk State, when I went there in the beginning, had the bachelor's program. They did not have the bachelor's program. So I did have to find another school to go to. And now that they have the bachelor's program for education, it's just phenomenal. And also that you're able to get early childhood education and then build on that to elementary or whatever else you decide to do. Because it is important. The foundation of education is extremely important. And I feel that I have been able to help with that. There's a lot of different things that I've been able to do in education. Polk County is phenomenal in that aspect, and I felt like I've been able to give back so much, but also learn so much from it. So that's kind of my path that I took through education at Polk State College, and I wish you all luck. And if you decide to go the route of education, you can get a hold of me anytime, and I look forward to hopefully meeting you all at Polk State. Thank you. Bye.
After hearing from Cherry and hearing from Kristen, if you're not excited about education, or if you're not like, hey, this is for me, we are available to convince you as well. So clearly lots of passion, clearly, the olden days of or the days of going in and finishing, that is for some students and not for everyone. So you can along the way get your degree from start with my program, then getting your AS degree, then your bachelor's degree, and so building upon it. And we were just talking earlier, some people have it all figured out, some of us don't, and we need to just take it step by step. So education really opens up a lot of different doors, and you can even do it for corporate training. If you want to go work for Publix or work for Babcock, or work for some of the bigger companies that are out there, getting a degree in education can help with that as well, because you're training, right? I mean, it really is just training adults. And so how do we do that? There's lots of options. So that's it for now.
Yeah, thank you, Chantel, and thank you, Cherry and Kristen, so much for sharing your insight into the different pathways related to education. So that leads us to our closing Q&A session.
The critical areas that Jessica was talking about, like students with learning differences, do you need special training for that? Is that part of these programs, or is that like a special certification kind of thing to deal with students with learning differences?
Yeah, great question. So, and I think that's partly why it's our top need, is because there are sometimes there is those barriers with certification. So there's different types of ESC or special education roles. If you're in a special education teacher role where you're just providing assistance to the traditional classroom teacher, the only certification you need would be ESC K-12. Still go through a special education program, or you can be in that career changer aspect and you take the subject area exam for ESC K-12, and that would be the certification you'd need. A lot of our positions, though, are self-contained ones. So like the special education teacher has their own kids that stay in their classroom for the whole day. Maybe they get other kids that come in and they teach them as well, but it's their classroom. And in those cases, they need to be certified in that ESC K-12, but they also might need to be certified in the content that they teach, like elementary K-6. They might have to teach math. So in those areas, like if I'm a middle school teacher who's a self-contained classroom and I'm teaching math and science to special education students, I would have to be certified in ESC K-12, math 5.9 or math 6.12, and science 5.9. So it adds up. And so some of the things we mentioned, like the subject area exam reimbursements, if you meet those eligibility requirements, we could reimburse all of them. If you take 3 exams, we reimburse all of them. And there's other incentives around the state, but yeah, it's sometimes that definitely is a barrier because you have to take a couple more certification exams.
Well, and the reason I asked that too is because it feels like there's a big psychology component to education.
I agree. And I think that's where they try to bring in like the coursework so you can have some of those aspects that you might get if you were going through a traditional education program where you get the psychology, you get the pedagogy, you get all these different aspects, but it is definitely something that we need training on. We can't just throw someone who's has a marketing degree into a special education classroom just because they passed the test. We need a lot more support.
And feeding on that, Rich Community asked, is Polk State a good fit for students who desire to be special education teachers, or what pathway would be best for them? I will tell you that with the elementary ed degree or the early childhood degree, what you learn from those degrees can be a great base for the special education. However, we do not specialize in that. That's one of the degrees that we're actually looking at possibly adding in the future. But I will tell you that several of our graduates who graduated with the bachelor's degrees decided they wanted to go into special education within a school setting. And they took the special education area test, and they passed it, and they're now doing that. So again, that's another pathway. I feel like sometimes you have to be careful with special education because what Jessica was just sharing about that training, I mean, you learn how to teach special area children in the elementary and early childhood degrees, but I also feel like there's more to it than that, that additional training would be good. That's a catch-22 question. We would love to have you come get your degrees here, but if you know specifically that you want to be a special area teacher, special education, we don't offer that strictly, but you would have the base building for that. So hopefully that kind of answered the question. Please feel free to email me if you want more details on that.
Say, if I could just add, just from the AS side, we have 2 special needs courses in our degree program, which doesn't sound like a lot. That's 6 credit hours, but I will tell you that most of the AS degrees around the state, they only have 1, and many of them have none. So we do have a little more on that side, but obviously that doesn't help you with certification at that level. But I feel like everything you get in that area is very important.
Chris, this question from Bartow really needs to go to you, but I would say I surely hope we can have some on-campus tours next year.
I think what the plan next year is to continue with virtual tours like we're doing with these, but then also if there's any students, if there's any lead academies that actually have a handful of students that really want to come onto campus and really be in person, we can do that as well. We just have to set that up. I think the in virtual, we get to talk to a lot of people, I think with the in-person, we're going to have to knock it down to the people who are truly interested in the programs that are serious. These recordings are all going to be available on our website. So, and you can always schedule a tour with a program, with any program.
Yes, you can.
You know, it doesn't have to be a classroom that comes in. I mean, if you're a student and you truly want to check out the education program, you can call Sharon's people and they'll certainly, you know, give you a personal tour.
No, just thanks for coming.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you everyone for coming.